All right, all right, all right. I think we might be good now. What's going on, people? It's been a minute, man. It's been a minute. I missed my day yesterday, of course, as usual, because we was out and about 7 o'clock yesterday, Monday. So couldn't make the stream. But I figured I'd jump back on here now. Let me know in the chat if you can, if the audio's good. Cause I just had to download a whole new, I had to download OBS on my MacBook instead of using it on my Mac Pro like I'm used to using it. So I'm all like discombobulated. Looks like Big Joe was in the building. Is it vain to say I'm pretty was in the building? Okay, there you go. You got to hit us with a healthy recap. It's been pretty long. It ain't been too long, has it, Big Joe? What is it, 2 weeks? 2 weeks, man. Here's the big thing that I've been working on lately as far as work, man, is working on building a WordPress plugin using Angular. The modern version of Angular is exactly what I'm doing right now. So for a little background on this project I'm working on, it is a large whole-scale WordPress application. But if you go to certain pages in the application, it goes from being a WordPress app to being an Angular spa app for those particular pages that is inside of a WordPress application. Issue is that it's written in old Angular 1 style, Angular 1.4 style to be exact. And I am attempting to upgrade that to the new Angular, right? Angular version 7. So it is learning how to best accomplish that task for the particular unique situation that we have, you know, the way things are done. I just kind of hit a jackpot today where I found a pretty good tutorial that goes through building a WordPress application using modern Angular. All the info you can find about doing something like that on the web is usually the old style Angular 1. And I really wanted to upgrade and get away from that old Angular 1, because that would mean if I continue to build upon that, that would mean pretty much that any future development would also have to be in that old Angular 1 as well. And if I am going to be the one doing that future development, I don't want to be writing old Angular 1 code, you know? So that has been what I'm doing. It was different. Here's what I found. It's different between Angular JS, which is Angular 1, and just Angular, which is every version past Angular 1, 2 through 7, in that with Angular 1, Angular JS, you could download the code. You could just download the source code, right? So what they did in the application was they literally downloaded the entire Angular source code, put it inside of WordPress as a plugin, and then they can do all their Angular stuff, you know, just referencing the whole Angular source code base, you know. Once they switch to Angular 2 and the CLI, you no longer download, you know, there is no download page. Like you can Google download Angular 1.4, right? And it'll take you to an old, to the old Angular and give you an actual download link where you can download the entire source code of Angular 1.4. And then you can put that inside of WordPress and you're off to the races. That doesn't work with Angular 2 through 7. You don't download the source code anymore. You know, because it's a whole system. It's not just one Angular file anymore. It's a whole system of things that come along with Angular, you know, to make it run and work. So that's what I was banging my head on for, you know, a couple days even on, and just how do I get this to work with new when you can't download the source code, I can't replicate the same setup that they had for Angular 1 with Angular 2. So it was really, and then there was nobody on the web talking about how to do this, right? So it was really just me figuring out, A, can this be done? And B, how do I do it? So I think I hit big turning point jackpot tonight because I was, trying a couple different things. I'm like, I run into a roadblock, just continually pivoting so that I'm not like blocked on any one given thing, right? And it just, I really wanted it to be a clean kind of Angular 2 or Angular 7 way of getting things done. I think I might have came across that tonight. So I'm like, but we don't know. We don't know for 100%. I just found something that really made my eyeballs get big. Like, this is it. This is what I've been digging for. So this kind of leads to one of those conversations about being a junior dev and wanting to work remote, right? So this is, working remote. I'm in this office by myself, so I don't have the resources necessarily of being able to turn to my fellow developer and ask questions, or having a developer at close disposal that has extensive WordPress knowledge, So it's really been kind of learning WordPress along with learning how to do this custom plugin in an Angular 7 friendly way, all of that at the same time. So that work-wise has been, what I've been up to. So let's see. Ramsey's in the building. L. Graves in the building. Appreciate it for the audio check. Big Joe says, so the pages with the most functionality are probably the Angular pages, right? And the basic ones of WordPress pages. Pretty much so. Well, you know what? I don't know why the decision was made to make some of it Angular. Because usually if you meet WordPress developers, they are, they stay inside that WordPress world. But really what they were doing was making a WordPress plugin, because there was probably nothing that existed in the WordPress plugin kind of marketplace that would do exactly what they wanted to do, right? So these headphones ain't even hooked up to that. So let me take them off. So that's probably why. And this was built in, at least looking at the commits, this was 2016 code. So, excuse me. So this is going back 3 years now is when this code was written. So we're kind of refreshing and updating, right? So you don't want to just continue on with old 2016 coding methods. You want to update it. Client's going to be paying a lot of money for it, so it should be really good code, in my opinion. It's getting it done within the time frame and making sure it's really good, solid code that does exactly what it is they want to be able to accomplish. It's a lot of moving pieces to this thing because of the unique setup that they had. There's a lot of third-party stuff that's going on, so it's not like we have control over everything in the code base, which has been the case for almost every other project I've worked on. We've had control over everything. This has a third-party client that handles the scheduling of all of the classes for the gym and scheduling the instructor time as well. So the instructors are able to go on and set when they want to teach classes and all this stuff like that, right? And that is a third-party application. So now not only is it building what we need, but now we need to figure out how to interface with this third-party scheduling application, because we need data from that application to be able to display in our application. So we need to do some type of handshake with them, some type of OAuth authorization that would allow our custom application to log into their custom third-party application and get the data that we need to display on our screen all while both of those applications are inside the framework of a WordPress application. So if that makes sense, um, there's a lot of moving pieces that's going on there. So it's not straightforward. It's not just jump in and write some Angular code. It's like you need to be aware of this WordPress environment that you're in, right? And everything that comes along with WordPress. And then you need to be aware of this third-party scheduling application, because you need to be able to get data from that application and submit data to that application potentially, for things to work as the client wants it. I've reached out to one of the key source members of that third-party application. Haven't heard back just yet, so I'm probably gonna let the guy at my company know, hey, this third-party guy is not getting back to me, in a timely manner. Let's see how that goes. So, but to answer your question, Big Joe, yeah, the basic ones are WordPress, but WordPress is surprisingly, it can accomplish some a little bit of heavy lifting as well. WordPress is basically just through plugins, I would say, it can accomplish some heavy lifting. So, WordPress is PHP, so if you've got some decent PHP skills, you can get a bunch of stuff accomplished in PHP as well. Don't necessarily have to be JavaScript. Can you give us the link to it? I can not. It is the pages and stuff that I'm working on is behind the login, so you have to be a member and logged in order to even see what it is I'm working on. What happened yesterday? We was just out and about yesterday, Ramsey. We went out to eat as a family. It kind of blew right past the 7 p.m. time, so my apologies there, which is why I'm on here now trying to do a makeup, to make up for that. The good tutorial info on this that you found was on, let's see. Let's see. This was from Roy Sivian. He's a senior software engineer at the Walt Disney Company. And he posted this up on LinkedIn. Surprisingly, it's not a YouTube video or an official, course thing. And this is part of his course. It says WordPress building apps with Angular. So his whole thing is about that, and it looks like it's not. Let me see if I can paste this in the chat. So this is what I'm looking at now. Ooh, I don't know if it allowed that link. I think it's blocking links. So, like I said, this is a new setup, so I don't want to take the time away from the stream to dig into and see why it's blocking those links. But I can post it in the Slack room when I'm done with the stream there, Big Joe. I'll let you see the link. Anything you have on it, I want to look into it and have it for future reference so I can level up. Yep, I'll post it in the Slack. What are you using to learn WordPress? It's been a lot of my good buddy Google, and there was some WordPress courses in a couple different places. Pluralsight has some WordPress stuff, a lot of YouTube. YouTube has some free, learn WordPress courses and stuff out there. And then Pluralsight and not Code School. Treehouse has some basic WordPress tutorials and courses as well. Can you tell us a few of the searches you used to find this? I'm just curious about what your mindset was on how to be able to find this information and be self-sufficient. So it was a lot of Googling. You kind of find the right term. So I think I started off Googling like Angular app hosted within WordPress, you know, and then I didn't get very good responses from that. And it's like, because that's not the terminology that they actually use. The correct terminology is like building WordPress plugin in Angular, or building Angular plugin for WordPress. That was the terminology, right? But I don't even know, I didn't even know in the beginning that that's what I should be searching for. So it was a lot of trial and error. Like I was thinking of, oh, this Angular app is hosted within a WordPress app, because that's, you know, how my mind was thinking about it. But that wasn't giving me any good hits on stuff. So I had to learn and do research. That's why I said you got to learn about WordPress, because then once you learn about WordPress, you learn within that ecosystem, they have things called themes and they have things called plugins. And, you know, you'll be looking for like one of those two things if it's custom. So, okay, I need a custom plugin written in Angular for a WordPress site. So that's kind of how that evolved. And it was many iterations of like, you know, running Angular within WordPress, hosting Angular within WordPress, just a whole bunch of stuff until I, you know, found out, slow down to take the time. Sometimes you can get going so fast. I get going so fast and trying to solve the problem that it's like, okay, maybe you need to slow down, step back, look at the big picture and be like, okay, I really need to take the time to learn WordPress first. Even though I don't want to take that time to learn WordPress, because I don't want to say I'm not a WordPress developer, but, you know, that hasn't been my bread and butter, so I didn't have huge interest in it. But it is important to this job, right? So it don't matter if, you know, if I was thrown on a project that had Java or that had Go or that had, you know, whatever it is, Cold Fusion, Flex, you know, name any old antiquated technology. Not that Java and Go is old and antiquated, but I'm just saying something that you're not familiar with, that is not your mainstay. You know, you have to do what is necessary for the project, not necessarily what lands in your wheelhouse. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what that was. I had to slow down, jump into the WordPress environment, and you know, kind of get it done. No, I meant to link to the tutorial you were saying you found. That's really good. Yeah, I tried to paste it, Big Joe, but it won't let me paste it, so we'll put that in there. Good insight on the search. And finding the right terminology is really the first major breakthrough in getting the problem solved / making a solution. You are absolutely correct. Terminology with Google is and coding especially is extremely important, because you'll find that the community lands upon a way of addressing certain things or doing certain things or fixing certain problems and issues. And so all of the write-ups and blogs will reference that same terminology. And if you're searching for something else, even though you're trying to find this thing, you won't find that thing, because the terminology is going to be different between what the actual thing is and what it is you're searching for. Even though in your mind they mean the same thing. Like hosting an Angular app within WordPress to me means the same thing as having a WordPress plugin written in Angular. But to Google, those are not the same thing. Google's like, okay, you want a plugin in Angular? That is not the same thing as hosting Angular within WordPress. Matter of fact, I don't even know what you're talking about over here, but I can give you a bunch of stuff over here. So yeah, it is definitely very important to, you know, to get that terminology down. And to me, terminology is the biggest hurdle to learning how to code. A lot of the concepts and stuff ain't hard, but they have very specific terminology and ways of calling things that you have to learn. And if you don't know, you can read about something and it's using words that you don't understand, and so you'll miss the concept just because you don't understand the terminology. So then you got to slow down, back up, go learn what this terminology is, and then go back and reread or rewatch, and then the concept will click because you learn the terminology. So terminology is kind of almost step one in learning learning those things. If you're taking computer science and you don't know what a linked list is, but you're watching a video to build an application and they're saying use a linked list, and you're like, I don't even know what a linked list is. So now you got to go look that up and see what that is. So it's one of those things. You got to learn the terminology to get it. And once you learn it, I mean, you learn it once, you got it. But it seems like every day in those beginning phases, every day or every other day, you're running into some term or concept that you're unfamiliar with. So it's kind of a slow snowball in the beginning of getting that going. But like I said, once you've learned it that first time, then you got it, and your snowball keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and easier to roll down the hill because you got momentum from all the stuff that you've learned. That's why, you can't just read a bunch of stuff or watch a bunch of tutorials and become a senior dev like you have to do, so that you make the mistakes and learn upon it. And then that's the difference between you and a new person is I've made all the mistakes that he hasn't even thought of yet. He or she hasn't even thought of yet. So that's kind of the deal. Same old, same old. Do you plan on working with WordPress more after this project? I don't know. I won't say no to that. It depends on the project to me. If you're going to be a freelancer, within reason, yeah, it's good if you have a few different technologies under your belt. You don't want to be, if you're an employee working for a product company, then yeah, you can kind of be I almost said one-hitter quitter, but that's not the proper term. You can kind of be a bullseye specialist, If you work for a company that has a product that is built in Angular, you can only know Angular, and you'll be okay as long as you stay at that company. Or you leave that company and you go to another company that has a different product that is also built in Angular, you'll be okay. You can live in that Angular world. Once you switch over to either working for a non-product company, which means you now work for a what do you call it? See, this is terminology for you. You work for an agency, that hires themselves out. They write code for different clients. Now, being an Angular specialist starts to lose its value because they're going to be working with clients that use a variety of different technologies, and you only know one. So now, only knowing one is a liability. Whereas if you work for a product company that uses that software, you're a specialist. So your value is high because you know the thing that they need. When you go somewhere else that works on a lot of different things, you only knowing one of them is now a liability because you're only valuable in one area. So yeah, I definitely don't look down upon learning WordPress and having other projects based around that. What I don't want to do is get trapped in the WordPress world. I would not want to do that. Would not be happy with that as a developer. Because there's plenty of WordPress specialists around town, that can take care of things. I don't feel like there's as many Angular specialists around town. So that, to me, is more valuable than learning WordPress, even though some people look at it like, because there's a lot of WordPress work in town, you could have more work as a WordPress developer. But that work may not pay as high as being an Angular specialist, even though you don't have as much work. So it's this whole give and take thing as a freelancer, of keeping your value up. So that's it. Yeah, agency type environment. So that's kind of it. Or if you freelance for yourself, if you're a freelancer for yourself, you're basically your own agency. You don't own a product that you're working on. So you're hiring yourself out to a variety of different clients. And if you only know one technology, if you only know JavaScript, then you're limiting your available client base because you got clients that's running all that other stuff, Java and Go and, Erlang, you name the technology, WordPress and, all that stuff. Even within the JavaScript world, you could be an Angular specialist, but the client is using React and you never took the time to go learn React. So you always want to, keep your skills sharp. I would be a quote unquote expert in one technology, possibly two, and then a generalist in three or four others. You know, this is down the line. You don't start off trying to do that. That is dumb and stupid in the beginning. Focus on one or two technologies at the most in the beginning. You know, if JavaScript's your jam, even within JavaScript, if you want to be a React specialist, that's fine in the beginning. But you need to pick up another specialty, you know, in there and be a pretty good expert on that. And then you need to learn two, three, four other, you know, skills, and at least at a high level, so that you can dive in and go deeper if you need to for a client, but you're at least aware of it and can talk intelligently about them. And then you're kind of golden as a freelance developer, I would say. So that's the deal there, which is why freelance is way harder than just being an employee at a product shop and working on your product all the time. So you just have to know more or be willing to learn more. Let's see. Man, haven't seen you on YouTube in a while. What's going on, Fire? Hope everything's been good. Glad to see you still making videos. Yeah, man, I'm still here. I'm still here, man. They can't get rid of me. Did the video go out? The little preview of the video went out. So it's showing me a screen. I hope the video's still going. You guys hadn't said the video cut out, so I'll take it that it's still going. Although I can't see the preview. So I see you know how to have you have to know how to have the right skill set that's going to get you paid. Yep. Either specialize in one thing and be at a company for it, be versatile in multiple languages for agency type environment. Exactly. And be able to get paid well for that there. Right. You can't spread yourself too thin. You have to build in slowly and steadily. What's the difference between freelancing and consulting? I would say nowadays those terms are used interchangeably. Being a freelance developer, being a web developer consultant can kind of be the same thing. There can be some differences when you say I'm a consultant. Sometimes what you're doing is just going in and assisting a client with, it's almost like a CTO-ish kind of thing, where if you go to a client that has technology needs, but they don't have their own on-staff CTO, which is Chief Technology Officer, you can go in and they tell you what their problems are. You can give them suggestions for what type of systems they need to build, what type of technologies are available, different technologies that are available. You can assist them in hiring people for those technologies, or if you have your own people, then you can, offer up your services to build the technology that fills their void, as a consultant. As a freelancer, I almost picture those more as a hired gun. Now, a freelancer can do those same things as a consultant, I met many a good, single person freelancers that also do those same things. So that's kind of the deal there. Oh, Ramsey said it's lagging for him. We're going to keep it short and sweet, so I'll probably be done here in a minute because I want to get back to that work I was working on. So I hope that answers your question. For freelancer, I kind of envision as a hired gun. He's coming in to augment staff and to be a specialist in a certain area and to come in and knock out some work in a timely fashion. Whereas a consultant may do a lot more on the client services, servicing the client type deal. So that's it there. But they can be, they're kind of used interchangeably. So just because you hear consultant doesn't mean that they're doing all that other stuff. They might just be writing code, like I think of a freelancer. So I hope that makes sense. That looks like to the end of the questions. Yeah, so that's kind of what's been going on, what I've been working on. I was sick one day last week, so took a day off. The tough thing there. Now, of course, there's no paid time off or anything like that. So if I miss a day at work, I miss 8 hours of pay, you know, which is tough. I added it up at the end of the week. I was like, ooh, I don't like the way that number look, you know. But that is what it is. You know, when your body needs a break, you gotta listen to it sometimes. So that's the deal there. But things been smooth. I ain't had no bumps, no headaches, no nothing. You know, everybody's really chill. The Slack room is pretty active during the day. I like that. You know, it's a good jam. So that's the deal. All right. If there's nothing else, then we're gonna end this stream. I appreciate y'all stopping by. If anyone has any last minute questions, throw them in this chat room. Other than that, I think that's probably gonna be it. Trying to think, was there anything else to fill y'all on? What have I been doing in the spare time? Spare time, I did clean my room. Remember how I said it looked like a bomb went off in here? Well, I cleaned my little room. I bought this thing back here. Let me see. Alexa, set office to 100%. All right. So, bought this thing back here from IKEA. It's 25 of these little cubbies. And bought these bin things. And basically took everything that was on my floor or covering my desk and threw it all in the bin to begin with and got it off my floor. So now my floor is like actually visible and clean. You can see it. You can actually see the floor down there, y'all. So that's the deal. So that bookshelf that was in my office is now gone. I built this thing. You know what the funny thing is? This is 6 by 6. So that's 6 feet across the top by 6 feet down. And it was I built it out in my living room and it was too freaking big to get in the door. To get in the door, because my office is like, there's a hallway and then you turn right to go into, there's a right little hallway and there's a bathroom straight ahead and then my office is right here. And to get around that corner and in, it was too long to make that corner. I was so pissed because I spent all that time building. And you know, if you've ever built IKEA stuff, you know how building IKEA stuff can be. So I built that darn thing out there and they couldn't get it in the darn room. So I had to pull it back out there and take it apart and bring the pieces inside of here and put it back together in here. Boy, I was hot. Oh man, that's crazy. Let's see. So Fire says, I kind of hopped in here late, so forgive me if I ask something that's been covered, but would you recommend a person trying to get a job in the industry to learn WordPress or email development? There's definitely WordPress work out there. So especially in a town like Vegas, there's a lot of WordPress work available. So it depends on your location, you know. But if you're in a place, I don't know, I kind of look at, well, I can't say that. That's my own opinions. My own opinions kind of feel like if you're not in a huge city, right? Then I would almost recommend WordPress more than doing custom Angular stuff or custom React stuff. Because if you're not in a big city, you're going to have more places. I feel like you'll have less places that desire that level of custom work. Most company, if you're freelance, I'm talking about this from a freelance perspective. If you're trying to freelance, I recommend learning WordPress because then you can go to any mom and pop company and build them a site, you know. Because within the WordPress world, there's plugins already made for like checkout carts and all of that stuff, grids for laying out products and entering the quantity of products. Like, you don't have to build any of that stuff from scratch. So you can build a company site, using WordPress and, be getting paid thousands of dollars for those skills. Um, but you hustling because you running your own business and freelancing and stuff. So once you get into a big city, you kind of have bigger companies that have more complex use cases that will require skills like building custom Angular apps or React apps or, Vue apps or, just name it, or if you're in the backend world, Go stuff and Java stuff and all of that, to where you'll get the payback on those very precise targeted skills. So A, I would look at where you're located at, and B, whether you're trying to freelance or not, But you need to look at where you're at, period. You should always be, even before you started learning the code, start taking a look in your local job boards, right? Go on to whatever job, I showed you guys, I used Stack Overflow jobs and got jobs from there. I've used LinkedIn and gotten jobs from there. Um, if you use CodePen, they have a job board. CSS Tricks has a job board. If you're looking for remote work, WeWorkRemotely.com is on there. But look for stuff in your local area and see what they're looking for. What kind of developers are they looking for? What technologies are they listing in those job requests? And then I start targeting that stuff because that's what you're going to be working with in your local market. So if you want to be a Angular developer and all the jobs listed say React, then guess what, buddy? You ain't going to be an Angular developer in your area. You're going to have to learn some React. So that's just the reality of, the world. From the man cave to the bat cave. Yeah, man. You must have been salty. I was way salty when that thing didn't fit in here, man. Way salty. After learning HTML, CSS, jobs, HTML and CSS, should then learn JavaScript vanilla. There's never anything wrong with learning JavaScript vanilla. Hebrew Israelite. After learning, you asked the same thing twice. Yeah, there's never anything wrong with learning vanilla JavaScript because all your frameworks are built off of, they're just JavaScript frameworks. Even Angular and TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. So it takes everything within vanilla JavaScript and adds stuff onto it. So yes is the answer to that question. HTML and CSS, you need to learn JavaScript. That's the front end trifecta. You got to know those three: HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That was a great. I gotta figure out how to upload links because I want to send y'all some links. Live chat, enable slow mode. Let me cancel that. I'm gonna go look for it. It was on what was it? Shop Talk Show. Which is a podcast from Chris Coyier and Dave Rupert. Caching server, using their emails, more countries and SaaS on Windows, maintaining Vue.js, talking swell, getting lit, HTML. Was that it? It might have been this latest one. So I can't share my screen. Actually, let me see. I think I can. Let me come in OBS. Let's create a new scene. And then come and say screen capture. Where's it at? Display capture. Boom. And then I want to capture display number 2. Boom. That is what I want. And then, boom, let's say that. All right, you guys are seeing my screen, right? So this is Shop Talk Show. This is a podcast from these two dudes. Can I make this big? I cannot make this big. There we go. Yeah. So Dave Rupert is this guy. He's 1/3 of Paravel, and then Chris Collier. This is the guy behind CodePN.io and CSS Tricks. He started off writing the CSS Tricks blog as Chris Collier. So those two guys have been doing a podcast. They're on episode 352. So there's over 300 episodes of goodness there to check out. But this one, Caching Service Workers in JavaScript with Scott Jill. I think that in this one they have a conversation about being, let me see if I can get back to you guys. Okay. Being a, it's kind of how at every company there is there's always at least one dev that is kind of CSS heavy, HTML, CSS heavy, and they will assist other developers with styling their application, because front-end devs typically tend to fall on one of two sides. They like to be in JavaScript world, and they're not fans of styling and CSS and stuff, or they like styling and CSS and the more artsy, designy part of front-end. And it's usually very rare to find somebody that splits that fence equally. They love to style and they love JavaScript. Usually you will find devs fall on one side or the other. So all the devs that love to be in JavaScript, they love the dev that likes to do styling because they can do their JavaScript stuff and make it work. And then the styling dev kind of comes over and makes sure it looks pretty, And then the styling devs that make stuff look pretty, his JavaScript chops may not be the same as the devs that love JavaScript. And when he's trying to build something, a lot of times he will rely on those devs' JavaScript skills so that he can make his pretty stuff function. And so they have that conversation. That's like, I'm good in HTML and CSS, but I'm still considered a JavaScript. I'm still considered a front-end dev, right? Even though my JavaScript chops aren't up. But if I answer a job post that is looking for a front-end developer, they may actually be looking for somebody that's great in JavaScript. And even though I am a front-end developer, I really like HTML and CSS and styling, more so than writing a bunch of JavaScript. So they were having that conversation, and that is a very hot topic conversation in the front-end development world because, it's true. Most people fall on one side or the other. I like writing JavaScript. I'm not a natural artsy person, so coming up with design and stuff for me is not firsthand. That's not in my nature. Can I do it? Yes. But I'll leverage the hell out of Bootstrap or Material Design or something that is there to assist me with styling as a developer. I don't know Photoshop like that. I'm not going in there and creating stuff from scratch, mocks and stuff. So that's kind of the deal there. Any tips for remote job resumes or anything? You should say it for those emails or interviews, or remote interviews or emails. No, because those are going to be held remotely. So they'll be able to take a look at when they video chat you or Skype you or whatever it may be. They'll be taking note on how your connection is. If you have a connection that's constantly dropping or that's spotty, then that doesn't bode well for you being a remote developer. So you want to make sure you're in a place um, that is quiet where you can carry on a conversation. A, because you'll be in meetings remotely, and if you don't have a quiet place, that's not going to work well for remote meetings. And also, I'm sorry, my wife just texted me, so it threw me off. um, we were talking about remote interviews and emails, and that's really kind of it. When it comes to remoteness, they're really going to be looking at your skills. A, do you have a good internet connection? Of course. Um, and B, do you have the chops and the skills? They don't have to worry as much about. Well, I won't say that, because remote done right definitely has company culture and fit. Um, but they're not necessarily looking at your appearance, how you dress, and all that, because it's remote. You know, you put on a nice shirt, and you can have PJs on down below. Nobody's gonna see it. So that's kind of the deal. So that's the deal there. There's not really anything very unique. Just make sure your skills are up to task, because they're gonna ask you to code something, and it's probably gonna be right there in front of them. So um, be comfortable with that. The good thing is when you're on your own machine, you can use your editor that you're familiar and comfortable with. You know, your environment and everything is the way that you like it. So those are almost some bonuses when it comes to doing remote um, interviews. You know, so that's the deal there. That's the deal there. Good question though, Big Joe, as always. I think that's gonna do it for now. I'm gonna get back to work. Go give my wife some tuga. She's not feeling good today, so I'll go love on her. Y'all see my cup of noodles over here? My little supply. I bought a 30 pack of cup of noodles, and I've been eating those things up, man. My wife said you shouldn't be eating those. They're so bad for you. They're so salty and stuff. I've been eating them up. Thanks for the stream. Post whatever links you have in the Slack, please. Okay, I will. Big Joe. Um, and I think that's the deal. I've been having fun though. I can't say that. Been having fun. So that's the big thing, and the best thing about it is have fun. So that said, I'm gonna sign off for the night. I'll see y'all on the next go round. We missed Kiana tonight. Good to see you too, Pretty.